Good morning, student. So the next part which we are going to study in software engineering is software development life cycle. So I am Dr. Alifia Jagedar, Assistant Professor of Abhidananda Senior College. If you understand what I am teaching you, do like, share and subscribe to the channel. Let's go ahead. In today's topic, we are going to study what is the introduction, what is SDLC, what are the activities of SDLC, and what is termed as generic process model. So let's go ahead. Now SDLC, software development, is nothing but a process of developing any software in different phases which requires proper planning, execution to meet the customer's expectation. This process includes not only the actual writing of code but also preparation of requirements and objectives. The design of what is to be coded, confirmation that what has to be developed has met the objectives. When there was no software development methods, new systems were designed based on prior experiences. Management techniques used previously or with the help of technical person, but as the complex system increased day by day, it has been realized that there should be certain method to develop your software. So system development life cycle or software development life cycle is intended to provide a set of guidelines for the successful completion of application development projects. So SDLC is a framework which will describe activities performed at each stage of software development life cycle. So it is a structure given to you all or a set of rules given to you all. You have to follow those process and develop your project. It is a process used by software industries to design, develop and test high quality software. The main aim is to produce the quality software which will meet or exceed customers' expectation, reaches completion within the time and the budget. So SDLC is going to help the software programmers to improvise their quality, their completion on time and in a particular budget. ISO and IEC 12207, it is an international standard given for software lifecycle processes. Okay, so it aims to be the standard that defines all the tasks required for developing and maintaining a software. Okay, so ISO have designed certain rules, certain tasks, certain processes which has to be followed. Now software engineering process technology company, that is SEPT, is a firm specializing in meeting the software process standards information it needs of the professional community, particularly concerning ISO or IEC 12207. Okay, so these are the firm which specializes into the software process standards. Okay, now let's go ahead. When we talk about software development life cycle, one thing comes into our mind: what is this cycle? So if you see this diagram, I have put it as a ring, means it will not stop here anywhere. It will keep on going till I submit and till my software is being used. Okay, so if you see this particular diagram, it is requirement analysis, then design, then implementation, testing and evolution. Okay, so let's see in details the SDL phases. SDLC has 6 phases. First is planning and requirement analysis. I need to plan what software I want to develop. I need to analyze my requirement. Okay, second, I have to define the requirement on a piece of paper. Okay, third, I have to design the software. Now designing can be on paper as well as parallelly onto your computers. Building or developing the software. Now here you are going to use your skills, expertise of your coding and then develop the software. After developing, you have to test the software. That means you have to validate the software, what you have committed and what you have got. The last stage is one of the most important stage, that is deployment and maintenance. Deployment means when you give your customer the product, and maintenance means you provide support to the software. So let's talk about planning and requirement analysis. It is the most important and fundamental stage in SDLC, because if you do not fulfill this stage accurately, you are not going to get correct software or accurate software. So this is the most important stage in your software development life cycle. Basically, this is performed by senior members of the team with input from all stakeholders and domain experts, or SME, in the industries. Okay, now what are stakeholders? Please understand, stakeholders are those peoples who are involved into your software development life cycle directly or indirectly. Okay, so these are called as stakeholders. Domain experts who are expertise in your software. Okay, SMEs who are going to prepare my documents in the industry. So these all combine together, or they coordinate with each other to do the first step, that is planning and requirement analysis. Planning for the quality assurance requirements and identification of the risk is associated with the project is also done at this stage. So here you're going to identify the quality and you're going to identify the risk associated with the project. Means when I do requirement analysis, I understand should I go ahead with this project, yes or no. Okay, so this is done at this stage. Requirement analysis, we need to identify what are the business requirements, what is the requirement of stakeholders, what is solution requirement, that is functional requirement and non-functional requirement, and the last is transition requirement. So these are called as requirement analysis. The next stage is defining your requirements. We have analyzed, we have thought that okay, we are going to go with the project. Now we need to define the requirements on a piece of paper. That means we need to document those things. Orally, nothing is acceptable. So here is the stage where we document those things, and the documentation is called as SRS, that is Software Requirement Specification Document, which is one of the most important documents. Now defining the requirement, once the requirement analysis is done, the next step is to clearly define and document your requirements and get them approved from project stakeholders. At every stage, you have to get approval from the stakeholders. So this is done through SRS, which is also called as Software Requirement Specification Document, which consists all the product requirements to be designed, developed during the project life cycle. So it has everything minutely in detail written regarding your projects. Defining requirements, enterprise analysis, business analysis, planning and monitoring, elicitation, requirement analysis, requirement management and communication, and solution assessment and validation. So you need to define the requirements as per these all points. Now once your requirement analysis done, your SRS has been written, the next part comes designing the software. So you have to design the software. Now which document will support the designing software? SRS. Because in SRS you have written your specification in detail. So based on the requirements specified in SRS, usually more than one design approach for the product architecture is proposed and documented in DDS, that is called as Design Document Specification. Okay, SRS is different and DDS is different. Design Document Specification is reviewed. Once you design the software, you have to get it reviewed, as I told you all before also. So the reviewing is done by stakeholders, and they are going to review on based on certain parameters such as risk assessment, design modularity, budget and time constraint, and the best design approach is selected for the software. Okay. So next is developing the software. We have designed, that means everything paperwork is done. Now is the time to develop your software. In this stage, the actual development starts and the product is built. So the programming code is generated as per your DDS during this stage. So this stage where you're going to write programs. So So developers have to follow certain coding guidelines defined by their organization, and programming tools like compilers, interpreters, debuggers, which is going to generate and implement the code. So we are done with the requirement analysis, we are done with requirement specification, we are done with design, we are done with developing. Now the next stage is testing. Once you have developed the software, you need to test the software. Is it what you were thinking, what you wanted, or what your client wants, right? So this stage is usually subset of all stages. Okay, the testing activities are mostly involved in all stages of SDLC. We keep on testing at all stages. However, this stage will refer to testing only that stage of the software where defects are reported, tracked, fixed and retested until the software reaches the quality standards defined in SRS. So the testing group will keep on testing the software till it identifies the defects, it will report the defect, it will track the defect, it will fix and retest it. Okay, this is testing the software. Next is deployment and maintenance, and as I told you all, it is again one of the most important stages of software development life cycle. Once your software is tested and no bugs are there, then it is ready for deployment. Okay, then based on feedback, the software may be released as it is or with suggested enhancement in the targeted segment. After the software is deployed, then its maintenance starts. This is a pictorial picture where phase 1 is formation, that is project initiation, where I initiate a project. A rough order of magnitude, that is MOM or ROM, is drafted. Then phase 2 is requirement or planning. Here I am going to define my requirements. Then is design, then is construction, that is your developing, coding, then test, then product release, and then post implementation. Okay, so this is where it is actually consists of 7 phases. SDLC stages and documents. What documents are needed at that stage? When it is at planning, it will need BRD, that is again your requirement definitions. Analysis, your input of BRD, that is SRS document, is also needed. Design input, here you will require HLD, DLD, design documents, all the diagrams. Coding, you're going to require the source code. Testing means test cases, test results have to be maintained at this particular stage. Now what is the reason for using SDLC models? Why we are using it? First of all, it will provide the base for project planning, estimating and scheduling. It provides a framework of standard set of terminologies, activities and deliverables. Third, it is going to provide the mechanism for project tracking and controlling it. Last is increase the visibility of project progress to all the stakeholders, because we are taking acknowledgement from the stakeholders at every level. So they are also transparent and they know what is the progress of your software. The main advantages of choosing the SDLC: first, they increase development speed, product quality, tracking and control, improved client relationship. It will decrease the project risk and it will decrease the project management overhead. Again and again, project management have to not work on the same condition. So it is going to decrease that overhead. Now, as generic process model. Now what is a generic process model? It is again a framework, encompasses 5 activities. In SDLC there were 7 activities, here it is 5. First is communication. In this activity, heavy communication with customers and other stakeholders, requirement gathering is done here by using surveys, by using interviews. So here communication is established between the customers and the stakeholders to get the requirement. Second is planning. In this activity, all the technical related tasks, work schedule, risk, required resources are discussed at the time of planning. So we are going to plan all those things, that what things we are going to need it at which month or at which stage of software development. Next is modeling. It is about building representations of things in the real world. In modeling activity, a product model is created in order to better understand requirements. Okay, so a model is created, a miniature, so that we understand what are the defects, and it can be identified at the level 1, rather than changing it at final level. So construction. In SE, construction is the application of set of procedures that are needed to assemble the product. Okay. In this activity, we generate the code and test the product in order to make better product. And last is deployment. In this activity, a complete or non-complete products or software are represented to the customers. It will evaluate and give feedback. On basis of feedback, we may modify the products for betterment. Thank you so much, students, for listening so patiently to the lecture. If you all have any doubts, you can write down into the comment section, and if the problem is not resolved, you can come down to the department for further queries. Thank you so much.